Hey guys, it's David here at FLC Knives and the FLC Knives DGA, and I've had a lot of interest in this Kyd3x press. So just now I was talking to Blaze of Kyd3x fame, and he said, can you do a little bit more detailed video on this and explain the how and the why? So full disclosure, this thing was almost free. I had the wood, so there's not much magic there as long as the wood kind of suits sort of what you want to do. And I had the clamps, right? So I just use a bunch of these clamps that I use for just general project work. And so what we've got here, this is a 2x12. And these are 2x4s. You can see I've got a hinge on the back there, an eye bolt, and an eye bolt, and that hook and that hook is where they hang up top. So I'm gonna flip this around and give you guys a little bit of a better view. So there's no magic here. It's just that you want everything to be adequate. So these are just hinges I bought at the Home Depot. And this, that's puzzle mat foam. And I used, you can see right in here, I used double-sided tape, which may or may not be the best way to do it, but that's what I had on hand. And what I'm finding through trial and error, bear with me here, this is the shakiest video ever, but I think it's gonna do the job. I'm finding that this scenario right here is actually a lot better. So I'm not sure if this distance here should be a lot shorter, but like I said, it's what I had, right? And I had the puzzle mat foam because I go through it for various things. So why did I do 5 stations? Well, it takes, easy 5-10 minutes for these to cool down, depending on your thickness and how big it is and how many parts you run, right? So I made 5 stations because that was sort of the size that would hang up here easily. And also, if I remember correctly, this board was already this length. So I just roughly spaced these guys out and thought, hey, 5 stations should be pretty good. After I've used it for a while now, hindsight's 2020, I've learned some stuff. Probably 10 would be about perfect. Because if you want to be able to continuously make parts, it takes some time for things to cool down. You get into a rhythm, things start getting warmed up quicker than they cool down. So really 2 of these would probably be about perfect. And for this, I'm using a toaster oven, or if I'm just doing like a onesie, like I had to do something this afternoon, I just used 1 station and a heat gun and did what I had to do. So, your mileage may vary. Try to tweak this to suit your needs, but making it so that it doesn't take up dedicated bench space, making it so that it hangs from the ceiling or the wall is a really, space conscious way to do it. And use what you have. Try to find some, leftover wood, or find, someone or a construction site where you can scavenge some offcuts, right? So don't be like the guys down the road from me that steal full-size wood from construction sites, obviously, but there's lots of projects around where you can ask, hey, those pieces have been there, are they garbage? And a lot of times they don't care, right? Just take the junk. And these are 12-inch bits of 2x4, which is garbage in a lot of cases. So I actually use them quite a bit as drilling blocks. So I keep my bits for stuff like that, and they just get completely perforated. So I use those for doing the wire stitch sheaths, among other things. So there's no magic in the 2x4 thickness, except that it is plenty rigid, right? There's no magic in this length here, except that it's in excess of what I need, right? So, it's just make a thing, try it, and tweak it to your needs, right? So I'm probably going to modify most of the stations to be like this, because I'm finding this really works well for the small tools. And then beyond this, the other thing that Blaze and I were talking about is, when do you get into vacuum forming or pressure molds? Well, my progression is I usually start out prototyping with the foam, and then certain tools that I don't sell as many of, they may stay there, right? And especially stuff that wants to be, finished with the trifold joint, that sort of stuff works really good just being a simple taco with the foam press. But if I go into something like the number one CV that I'm working on a bunch of right now, which I can't reach because I'll have to move all this stuff, but I have pressure molds for those. The next step here as I'm making production tooling, because I'm on batch 4, I think, so it's time to actually optimize the tooling. So I'm going to make a pallet or a pallet set for the CNC mill, and then I'm going to make vacuum form tools that make a bunch of sheaths at once that will then get trimmed on a fixture on the mill as well. So there's a progression to things, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with foam pressing. It's just try to make it, with the real sin here, I guess, what could be wrong with foam pressing is if it eats up your time, right? So that's the point of this. Try to make something that allows you to optimize your time better. So in my case, if I plan to do a lot of foam pressing, I would just make another one of these because I actually have more of this wood and I have more 2x4 offcuts just from other projects. So I could literally just buy 2 more of these eye bolts and 2 more of the hooks. They go up top, and I have room to the left of where I hang this to hang another one. So that's probably what I'll end up doing here in the near term. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that you guys might have about this. But feel free to DM me if I left anything out. So go crush the day, guys.